Good morning, student. Yesterday we had started with next lesson, which is sixth one, Indian struggle against colonialism. In this lesson yesterday we had discussed about the struggle before 1857, and then we enter into the war of freedom of 1857. So the Indian rebellion of 1857, it was a major but unsuccessful uprising in India in 1857 and 1508 against the rule of the British East India Company, which functioned as a sovereign power on behalf of the British Crown. The rebellion began on the 10th May 1857 in the form of the mutiny of Sipai of the Company's army in the town of Meerut, which is in the northeast of Delhi. This war is also known as Sipai Mutiny, the Indian Mutiny. Mutiny means an open rebellion against somebody, especially by the soldiers or sailors against their officer. So this 1857 revolt, it is also known as the Great Rebellion, the Revolt of 1857, First War of Independence. Now student, we are going to move towards next soldier of this great war, and that was Rani Lakshmi Bai. Lakshmi Bai, who was born on November 1935. She was the Rani, Queen of Jhansi, and she was the leader of this Indian mutiny of 1857-58. She brought up in the household of the Peshwa ruler Bajirao II. Lakshmi Bai had an unusual upbringing for a Brahman girl. Growing up with the boys in the Peshwa's court, she was trained in the martial art and became proficient in sword fighting and riding. She married the Maharaja of Jhansi, Gangadhar Rao, but she was widow without bearing a surviving heir to the throne. Rani Lakshmibai, when she was 22 years old, she refused to give up Jhansi to the British. Shortly after the beginning of the mutiny in 1857, which broke out in Meerut, Lakshmi Bai was proclaimed the regent of Jhansi, and she ruled on behalf of the minor heir. Joining the uprising against the British, she rapidly organized her troops and assumed charge of the rebels in the Bundelkhand region. Mutineers in the neighboring areas headed towards Jhansi to offer her support. Tatya Tope and Lakshmi Bai then both they mounted a successful assault on the city fortress of Gwalior. The treasury was seized and Nana Sahib, a prominent leader, was proclaimed as Peshwa. After taking Gwalior, Lakshmi Bai marched east to Moror to confront a British counter attack led by Rose. She dressed as a man, she fought a fierce battle, and she was killed in war. Sardar Man Singh of Gwalior, he handed over Tata Tope to British. Tata Tope, he was hanged to death in 1859 by the British. Nana Sahib Peshwa, wife of Bajirao Peshwa II, and nephew Rao Sahib, all they escaped to Nepal and permanently they settled down over there. In Maharashtra, Rango Bapuji Gupte, he attempted to organize a revolt at Satara, but he was unsuccessful. His followers were punished for it. Babasaheb Bhave, the ruler of the Nargunda state, joined uprising in 1858. The British government, when they got a smelt of the plan of rebellion in Mumbai, so immediately they took action on the people who were involved in the plan. So all these people, they were blown to the death by tying them to the cannon. The Bhils and Khandesh, they also joined in the revolt. Their leaders Bhima Naik and Khazar Singh Naik seized a government treasury worth of rupees 7 lakh. The Bhils and the British, they confronted each other at Ambapani, which is in Jalgaon district. In Kolhapur also, Ramji Sirsat, who was awaiting the news of the uprising in the north, he took charge of government treasury and he began to organize the soldiers and others under his leadership. In response to uprising, Chima Sahib, a member of the royal house of Kolhapur, he joined and took over the leadership of the rebels. The uprising was supported well by the people in Kolhapur, Belgaum and Dharwad. The revolt of 1857, it could not be quelled in short time. It continued for more than 1 year. So many soldiers they involved in the war at Delhi, Meerut, Kanpur, Lucknow, Gwalior and some other places was considerably large, around 1 lakh. They were adequately armed. They possessed right state of mind and also not lacking in valor, and yet they were defeated. The impact of this war of 1857 we can see on Queen Victoria of England. She acknowledged the anger of Indian people which gave rise of the war of 1857. To maintain peace, she addressed the issue by publishing a charter which was known as the Queen's Proclamation. Proclamation means official announcement. So, in that announcement, she declared that all the Indians were her subjects and she wanted to assure them of few things. So, she assured that she gave promise of no, there will be no discrimination on the basis of race, creed, caste, and birthplace. Employment on the basis of the qualification will be given to the people and on the basis of their skill. There will be no interference in the religious matter. Britishers, they are not going to interfere in the religious matters in India. Fulfillment of the agreements with the rulers of princely states. So all these assurances were given to the Indians by the Queen Victoria in her Queen's Proclamation. The War of 1857 also had a deep impact on the Indian society. Provincial and the communal loyalties, they were gradually replaced by a feeling of being united as a nation and national loyalty. It was down on the Indian people that they cannot win in an armed combat with the British. and a need was felt to find more innovative methods to counter the British rule. So here the Indian society came to know that if they want to win against British, so that time they have to came together, they have to feel that they are united, they are one, and they had to find some more innovative methods where they can counter the British. Becoming aware of the power of united Indian people during the 1857 war, the British adopted a policy of divide and rule in the later years of their regime. So when the Britishers now finally they came to know that these Indians they are uncontrollable, so that time they decided, they focus on the policy that they had to divide Indians and they can rule on Indians. Now student, next point is 6.3, background of founding the Indian National Congress. So the founding of the Indian National Congress, it was followed by the 1857 Independence War, which was the major event in the independence movement of India. It was the first organization in India that pulled people from all the parts of India. Retired British Indian Civil Service ICS officer Octavian Hume founded the Indian National Congress in order to form a platform for civil and political dialogue among educated Indians. After the Indian Rebellion of 1857, control of India was transferred from East India Company to the British Empire. British controlled India, known as the British Raj, worked to try to support and justify its governors of India with the aid of English educated Indians who tended to be more familiar with and friendly to the British culture and political thinking. Ironically, a few of the reasons that the Congress grew and survived, particularly in the 19th century era, undisputed British dominance was through the patronage of British authorities and the rising class of Indians and Anglo Indians educated in the English language based on British tradition. Dwarkanath Tagore established he established Landholders Association in 1837. It was an association of the landlords of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. Its purpose was to promote the class interest of the landlords. In 1839, William Adams, a friend of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he established British India Society in London to acquaint the British citizens in England with the condition in British India. Then George Thompson, a friend of Dwarkanath Tagore, he established Bengal British Indian Society. In 1851, the Landholders Association and the Bengal British India Society, both they merged together and it formed British Indian Association. By the initiative of Harish Chandra Mukherjee, this organization dispatched a document presenting complaint of the Indian people to the British Parliament. Same time, Madras Native Association also began to work on the similar lines. In 1866, Dadabhai Nauroji, in collaboration with Vyomesh Chandra Banerjee, established East India Association in London and began to work of creating awareness about Indian conditions. The India League was active in this regard from 1875. Surendranath Banerjee, he established Indian Association and declared that this association would work for uniting Indians of various racial origin and caste with the help of the common political interest and aspiration. Indian Association called a conference of the representative of the various Indian provinces in 1883 at Kolkata. Madras Mahajan Sabha was an Indian nationalist organization based in the Madras Presidency along with the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, Bombay Presidency Association and the Indian Association. It is considered to be predecessor of the Indian National Congress. The Madras Mahajan Sabha, founded in 1884, was an important nationalist organization. Same time, English education and urge for the social reform resulted in the formation of Bombay Presidency Association in January 1885 by Justice Kashinath Trimbak Telang, Feroz Shah Mehta and their followers. Next point is 6.4, founding of the Indian National Congress. On 20th December 1885, the Indian National Congress, it was founded at Gokuldas Tejpal Sanskrit College in Bombay with 72 delegates means representative in attendance. Hume assumed office as the General Secretary and Womesh Chandra Banerjee of Kolkata was elected President. Beside Hume, two additional British members were members of the founding groups. The other members mostly Hindus from the Bombay and Madras presidencies. Some policies were there under this Indian National Congress during 1885-1905. Between 1885 and 1905, the Indian National Congress passed several resolutions in its annual sessions. Through the resolution, the humble demands made by Congress included civil rights, administrative, constitutional and economical policies. A look at the resolution passed on these methods would be given an idea the directions of Congress programs were taking. First, there was the civil right. Under this right, the Congress leader realized the value of freedom of speech and press, the right to organize processions, meeting and similar other rights. Next, it was the administrative right. The Congress leaders urged the government to remove certain administrative abuses and run public welfare measures. They put emphasis on the appointment of Indians in the government services. Specific proposals are made to open agricultural banks for the relief of peasantry. The Congress leader also raised the voice of protest against the discriminatory laws enacted by the government. Next, it was the constitutional right. Under this right, the humble demand made by the early Congress leaders in respect to constitutional matters were like to increase the power of legislative council to include the elected Indian representative. It must be mentioned here that the British government of India paid scant regard to above demands made by Congress. And last, it was economic right. In the economic sphere, Congress blamed the wrong policies of the British that resulted in rising property and economic repression of the Indian pay. The Congress also put forward certain specific suggestions for the economic improvement of the country and her people. These included the introduction of modern industry, Indianization of public services, etc. The Congress also demanded the evolution of salt tax for the benefit particularly of the poor section of the people. Octavian Hume, a British officer in India, took significant lead in the founding of Indian National Congress. In this first session, 9 resolutions were passed. Through this resolution, demands for appointing a commission to inquire into British administrative in India, to appoint elected representative of people on central and provincial legislative assemblies, to employ Indian in administrative services, to conduct civil services examination in India, to curtail military expenses, to sanction more funds for higher education, and to make provisions for technological educations. All these things were put forth under this first session. Okay students, so today we are going to stop here. We will revise what we have learned today. In the starting, we talk about Jhansi Ki Rani, the Indian soldier who rose against the British. Then we have discussed about some more Indian soldiers who contribute themselves for the revolt of 1857. After that, we check 6.3, which was the background of the founding of Indian National Congress. Under this association, so many more associations were formed, and at last on 28 December 1885, Indian National Congress, it was its first session, it was held in Mumbai, and the Indian National Congress, it was formed. So the Indian National Congress, it is a political party in India with widespread root and which was founded in 1885. It was a first modern nationalist movement to emerge in British Empire in Asia and Africa. From the late 19th century and especially after 1920, under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, Congress became the principal leader of the Indian independence movement. Congress led India to independence from Great Britain and powerfully influenced other anti-colonial nationalist movements in the British Empire. In the next lecture, student, we are going to discuss about the moderate and the extremist, as well as we are going to discuss about some more Indian freedom fighters like Lokmanya Tilak, Mahatma Gandhi, Swatantraveer Savarkar, and we will have discussion about the armed revolutionary in India. So this is your homework only. You have to read the lesson till what we have learned today, and if you have any doubt or any query, you can ask me. You can drop it in the comment box. Thank you and have a nice day.